Let's discuss this further. We're now joined by Diabo Setu, who attended that conference in Pretoria today. So, Diabo, in summary, Ford says it's responsible for these fires, but not for the death.
Francis, it's very unfortunate that at least one life has been lost throughout the entire debacle. The family of Rishal Jimmy, who lost his life in December 2015, attended the press briefing together with us today in Pretoria at the GCIS, and they are unsatisfied with the answers that Ford South Africa has given to the public about what exactly is happening with the 1.6 EcoBoost Ford Kugas. They say they will not leave any stone unturned as they try to get justice for their brother, who I believe was at the prime of his life. A very emotional sister, Rishal Jimmy, spoke of the kind of void that the death of Rishal Jimmy has left in their family, and that the mother constantly is crying because she obviously has lost the son. But most of the answers that were given here, if you troll throughout all the social media or speak to people, Francis, they'll tell you that they are not satisfied with the answers that Ford South Africa has given the public today. What they're basically saying is that we are recalling the Ford Kugas, and we are doing it in two parts. We are not going to be replacing any cars. We will fix the cars because we believe that the problem is with the engine and the coolant within the engine, and once we have fixed this, everything should be fine. But you can imagine, if you are a viewer at home and you drive this vehicle, that you'd be very, very concerned, even if after this car has been looked at by the mechanics and all the technicians at Ford, you will not, if you remember Rishal Jimmy's story, you will probably not be comforted.
I agree with you, Diabo. Surely the reputational damage here has been very expensive, and I would think maybe more expensive than just fully replacing 4,500 vehicles. But Ford is not doing that. It sounds like it could be quite laborious for customers. Still, you raise some of the issues. They have to go, sometimes they have to pay a deposit, wait for parts. Just outline what the people who've approached Ford thus far are saying.
Last week we spoke to Nokuthula Mthweni. She's the owner of a Ford Kuga at the SABC, and we ran the story extensively throughout the weekend, where she spoke about how when she went to one Ford dealership, she was told that in order for her to get the courtesy car, she needed to pay 1,500 rand. I asked Jeff Nemeth about this, and he says yes, it's standard procedure that we normally charge our customers 1,500 rand in order for them to get a courtesy car. But surely now that this is not a fault of the customers, but a fault that lies with Ford as a company, surely this money cannot be paid. And he conceded and said that, look, we will waive the fee, and no one will have to pay this 1,500 rand that needs to be paid when you go into a Ford dealership to have your car checked out. And if they need to keep your car there and you need to use a courtesy car and you are asked to pay, I urge our viewers to be cautious and know that they are not allowed to pay that. Another burning issue was the issue of parts. A lot of customers or motorists who drive these vehicles have been complaining about parts that have been taking too long to come from the US. We do know that Ford has its headquarters in the US, and there has been a shortage of parts. I also asked Mr. Nemeth about this, and he assured me that parts are on their way and people will have parts that they need for their cars to be sorted out. But what you mentioned earlier on, Francis, about reputational damage, yes, it has been done, especially because Ford took such a long time to respond to this. It has been, one might call it a PR nightmare that they have not been able to sort out.
And you picked up on something. If Ford Kuga owners take their cars in and parts are replaced, but they still feel very uncomfortable driving that car, there's nothing they can do. They can't get their money back, etc.
This is a very dicey part where I've had to ask Mr. Nemeth outside the press briefing that can't you just do away with these cars, because it's going to be very difficult for anyone to trust the cars. Imagine yourself, Francis, you drive in this car, they say it has been fixed. You will never know if it's really will not burst into flames. So what you're saying is correct. Unfortunately, there have been people who have been making their own opinions, legal experts, some who say that perhaps there may not be legal recourse for customers to take back these cars and to get a refund. But I suspect this is one issue that Ford will have to be very, very steadfast and try to think hard about how they gain back that customer, or the customer base that they have lost throughout this issue. And when I pressed him for an answer about, well, if I do not want this Kuga, will you take it back? And he says, we don't know, but we may have to do something about it, which indicates that they may just have a plan on how to replace these cars, because this is not just an issue of a tire bursting or maybe a flat tire. This is a potential hazard to lives, and we already have one life lost, and we have more than 40 people who have lost their cars.
All right, just to clarify, thank you very much, Diabo Seto, but just to clarify, Ford says that that death was not due to the defect. We have to clarify that, and Ford's saying that that was an unrelated and unique incident. So that is a word from the company today. Diabo Seto live from Pretoria.